Good morning, Holly.
Good morning, Finn. How are you?
I'm good. I am so excited to see you.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. I really am. It's a hot day here on the East Coast, and I know you guys are in it too. So, but it feels good.
Are
Summer, yay!
are you barefoot at work? And
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that being the professional shirt up top, barefoot down
yeah,
below. That's how I roll.
yeah. But I have pants on. Just that it's a skirt. But yeah, I've heard the people from the Zoom meetings be like, "Yeah, I'll show up in my boxer shorts or like whatever it is." So, but I'm professionally dressed, the whole thing except the shoes.
Yeah. This is a great segue to our we're thinking about embodiment and like eroticism and how that shows up in the body. So is there something for you that you feel in your body when you are like professionally dressed versus not? Like what is that like for you?
It is. There's definitely, and I've heard friends and colleagues talk about this too. And for some people, it's like when I have my nice shoes on, that means I'm in my headspace of work. For me, it's really just being dressed nicely. The shoes aren't part of it, but there's something about stepping into my professional space versus my personal space.
Totally. Yeah, I feel that too. It's like stepping into the values that I hold about, like when I put these clothes on or how I feel about myself. And I think around eroticism, that's so important. And it's been a trip to like have, like I mentioned, bare feet, down below and then like a professional shirt up top. And kind of that puts me in a space where I feel my eroticism more in myself.
I think so. And confidence. I just feel confidence. Like there's
Mhm.
literally kind of, a shift from whatever was happening at home outside my office door to when I sit down in a dress or whatever it is, like, okay, I'm here and I'm in
Mhm.
and I'm in my erotic professional zone. So in my life force and my vitality, all the things that make me feel good about what I do.
Mhm. What do you think it means to embody oneself and embodying eroticism? How do
That's a
you
great question.
I know that you think
I
they're non-dual, so
yes, yes. I want to, for our listeners, to first talk about this word embody or embodied because it gets offered a lot, but I'm not sure people know exactly what it means. So to me, embodiment is bridging the gap between emotional pain experienced in the psyche and physical pain experienced in the body. So
Mhm.
embodiment is really integration of mind and body. So what we are thinking and feeling really line up. Embodiment is sometimes called the zone. Like I feel like that's what we're talking about. So embodying self and eroticism, eros, life force, vitality, vivacity. So to me, there's a sense of knowing in the body, not just in my brain, that's going all into this energy, life force that is eros.
Mhm. Yeah,
How
and
about
when
you?
yeah, I do. I love that. And I think that, sex, for instance, like it isn't necessarily eroticism. I feel like it's so possible to have sex without an ounce of eroticism, you know?
Totally.
So what is that? In my mind, it's like what you mentioned, the brain and the body connection. You mentioned pain, and I think that's so important because I think culturally, I mean, in broad strokes, but we're really encouraged to not feel a lot of our experience that is painful. And that's a general word, but like sex is going to bring up the same stuff that we struggle with every single day. And it's something that I think, the way that we've learned about sex, it's so compartmentalized
Mhm.
as this thing that you go do and come back to your life or back to self.
Yep,
But like if we're embodying ourselves, we're going to feel our anxieties, our existential fears. We're going to feel all that stuff when we start to integrate it. We're going to feel that in sex too. I think it's so
absolutely.
important people know that that's okay and that that's part of deepening and growing, and it's nothing's wrong with you for feeling fear when having sex or feeling, struggles of some kind.
Absolutely. And I think when we put the body really into sexuality, it brings up all of this potential for inadequacy. You used fear, but there's hard to think of many spaces, many things that we do, many parts of ourselves that can be more highlighted to feel inadequate than when we're having sex.
Hmm.
Because we're typically naked, so we have to deal with body image issues, having another person see us,
Hmm.
and then the performance qualities of it. And I know you and I talk all the time about the pleasure versus performance, but I think we also have to be realistic there's a lot of performance anxiety that people have when having sex with another person.
Yeah, and I think those, I've been noticing that in myself, those performance anxieties, not only in sex but everywhere. You know, like
Yeah.
in my work, and then I'm like, okay, like where am I? I'm just trying to find that sense of self. So I think, you know, if we should think about a granular level for people, a few tips or ways to, you know, let's say you're in a sexual situation and you start to feel an inhibition or something that feels uncomfortable emotionally. I typically tell people, if you trust the person, share it. There's not really a way around that moment, and getting connection and attunement is really important. So how do you recommend people, you know, ground and get through those moments where I'm supposed to be having fun and here's this uncomfortable thought?
Yes. Yes. I love that. What you just said, like moving towards vulnerability instead of trying to wall off and self protect and pretend, is such a better strategy for having good sex. And what you were saying before, so sex and self are not dualistic. So what that means is we don't have sex and then be a person, right? We are sex in our personhood, right? So when you start, if you're having sex and you start to feel the split, like I have to show up as something that I am not, you are
Mhm,
not embodied. And this
mhm,
is not a bad thing. It's just, okay, I have an awareness right now that I am not embodied. There's a gap between what's happening in my mind and how I feel in my body. So definitely connecting with our partner is a way to do it, but even stopping and just connecting with ourselves. So that can be through breath, that can be
mhm,
through like tapping, giving yourself a hug, stepping into a different temperature really helps for some people. Taking a
mhm.
cold sip of water, taking a warm sip of tea, something like that, that just shocks your system and brings you back into your body, I think helps.
Yeah, it's also, it gives care to oneself, right? It's like, I'm going to give care here. I often, well, if eye contact is comfortable, because I know for some people the eye contact can be like further dysregulating. We have to learn how to let it be regulating. But it's like, just tell the guys that I work with often, you know, like, hey, can we just pause for a second? This is great. I'm having fun. And I just need a moment to ground. You don't have to explain what's going on. You don't have to say, I'm worried about my belly right now. You can, and that can be a deeper path, but just saying like, can we just hold each other for a second? Let me like breathe and move through this thing that's coming up for me. And that can be just massively helpful. You don't have to seclude that and go on with, you know, the thing.
Right, right. And I can hear my clients right now saying, oh, that's going to ruin the moment. I don't want to do this.
Mm,
So to repeat what you just said, this can literally take 10 seconds.
hmm
You can say it and hug your partner or just grab your partner's hands and smile. Your nervous system will almost immediately start regulating,
hmm
right? If your partner shows up and it's like, yeah, whatever you need. And I hope you're in bed with a partner who's like, yeah, whatever you need.
hmm yeah, and this idea that ruining the moment, I love that objection. I've had that myself for most of my life too, but it does, you know, that to me it's silly, you know, to think that, because it ruins the moment to stay in a trapped space where you go on and do stuff that you're like, it gets further and further afraid often, you know. So yeah, I think that a good conversation with, if someone you're having sex with regularly too, to say, hey, sometimes I'm gonna need to slow down and stop. And when I do, don't think it's weird, just like be with me, and that can be helpful.
Yeah, yeah. And what you just told me, those people who are like, I don't want to ruin the moment, what they're saying is they don't want to ruin the moment for their partner, but they're super happy betraying themselves,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Like, I'll
Okay.
take one for the team. I'm just going to keep having sex unembodied,
Yeah.
dysregulated because I
Mm,
can take it. I know my clients can take it. I know you can take it. I know I can take it. But the point of healing and getting to this
mhm,
place of embodiment with eroticism is not to take one for the team, is to
mm,
share vocally or with body language what you need in the moment.
mhm. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for that. That taking one for the team, it resonates really big for me. Ah, love these conversations with you, Holly. Thank you so much for making space. Is there anything that you wanted to add before we drop off?
I don't think so. You always ask the best questions. I'm just excited to be here and connected with you, and I look forward to doing this next month.
Yeah. Big hug to you.
Thanks, Ben.